Oh, yes. That's right. No, I'm all right at the moment, thank you, which means I shall probably start coughing and dying on you or something, and very embarrassingly.
Oh, for you.
And you can say, well, you should have had water. Such is life.
I'm not like that.
No, no, you don't care, do you?
No, I don't care.
Mean.
Yes.
Mean. Siobhan's very mean.
True. You were the nicest person in fandom.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I like the were. When did that change?
When he took over.
Thanks.
That's all right. Animation.
Yes.
This is what you've been up to. How many have you done now?
I can't answer that question. 2 that have been released so far.
Okay.
And there may be others, there may not.
No, really?
No idea. No idea.
So what I want to know is what you actually do. You yourself.
Well, I've got to tell you, every single person who works on the animations, including the BBC, said, what do you actually do? And I go, well, I sort of... What do I do? It's a bit like when I was at Big Finish. What do I do at Big Finish? It's the same sort of thing. My job is to organise everyone else and make sure it all gets done, and make sure it gets done reasonably well, and deliver it to the BBC. That final sentence is probably the most important one, particularly as far as the BBC are concerned. When is it being delivered? Well, that's the date we're due to deliver it. Yes, but when's it being delivered? Oh, probably about another 3 months after that. And they go, no. Can we have it on time? I go, no. I don't write. Well, it's easier what I don't do. I don't draw anything. I don't design anything. All I do is tell everybody else what to do. And they go, yes, Mr. Russell, sir, that's very good, very kind of you, Mr. Russell, sir, thank you very much. And I have a co-producer called Mark, who lives in America, and he arranges for everyone to get paid. So I don't even have to worry about that. But what I do is, for instance, on Fury, I worked with the designers to get all the characters looking the way I wanted them to look. Because with Fury from the Deep, we knew that there's no pre-existing episodes. So we had fairly carte blanche to do what we wanted within reason. We'd made a decision, and I keep saying we, I mean I'd made a decision and told the BBC that they'd actually made this decision, and they went, oh right, when did we say that? Oh, it was a meeting 3 weeks ago. All right, yeah, I remember now. But I said, you know, if we're doing these things, and we're doing them in colour, and in the case of Fury from the Deep, we're doing it in 16:9, which means widescreen, we need to try and approach this from the point of view not just of slavishly trying to recreate what it looked like in 1968. And the reasons for that are, animation doesn't work if you try and make it look bad. And I don't mean that in a totally derogatory way about 60s Doctor Who, but the fact is that 1960s Doctor Who, if you put it on television in 2021, you'd look at it and go, well, that was made in the 1960s, because there's a way, not just because it's black and white, but just the way it's made, the smallness of it. Fury from the Deep has this fantastic reputation of being this amazing, brilliant story, which it is. But you've got to remember that the studio they filmed it in was smaller than the length of this stage, and probably went back to about the third row. So it's probably like 3/4 length of the stage back to the third row there. And that was the entire studio for everything. So all their sets, their control room, their impeller room, their pipe room, were actually one big set, and the camera just did that. When you're doing animation, you have to look at it and go, do I want to slavishly recreate that? That's actually going to look quite bad and boring to look at in animation, because what you're doing is exposing the limitations of what they had back in the 60s. So discussed with the BBC, with them, that we would do this and we'd have new rooms and we'd just make the whole thing feel bigger. Yes. Animation, I think, works better if it's made to be bigger than if you're trying to recreate telesnaps. Now, of course, the thing I had in my favour with Fury from the Deep is there are no telesnaps, really. It's a couple of clips, a couple of photographs. So nobody could turn around and go, ah, that's definitely not how they did it in 1968. Okay, prove it. So we had the luxury of being able to make it look bigger. I don't want to say better, but we had the opportunity to to expand it, to make the characters move around more than they ever did in the 60s.
Feeling, basically being more realistic than maybe how it got shown on telly back then.
Yeah, realism. You see, animation. We're in this weird situation with the Doctor Who. How many people here have watched View from the Deep? Oh, lots of you. Well, animation. If you look at most, I'd say 99% of animation made from about 1982 to date. Animation generally is exaggerated if you're doing human form. Nobody looks like a human being. Everybody's mouth, you know, the Japanese influence on eyes and mouths is very big. You don't really have lines on people's faces. Usually humans have slightly elongated necks, slightly spindly bodies. Everyone, you know, you don't try and animate for cartoons people to look like real human beings. Likewise, sets and locations are not designed to have doors that you walk through and is everybody the same height? No, they don't care about that in modern animation, and nor should they, because that's what animation is. Unfortunately, when you're doing the Doctor Who animation, we do have to care about that. We are trying to make them look like human beings. We are trying to make sure that if they came up to there on a door in episode 1, they've got to come up to there on that door in the other 6 episodes as well. That's a very hard thing to talk to when you're dealing with an animation studio who is used to not worrying about that sort of thing and drawing exaggerated characters and drawing exaggerated movement, which is why, in the case of Fury, and this is something we've changed going forward, you've got windmill arms occasionally, because that's what they used to do. They used to having very expressive arms, and they're not worried about human bodily proportions. They're used to it looking dramatic, and if an arm is meant to be pointing or waving, most modern animation will exaggerate that arm and exaggerate that point, so that if it was a human arm and you dropped it down, and actually half the time the hands would probably reach the feet, but that's the way animation works, and you're working with animation houses who are trained to think in those terms. That's how they're trained to do. We're trying to detrain them and say, forget everything you've learned over the last 30 years because we need you to draw these like realistic human beings. And it's been an interesting experience doing it for us, but more importantly for the studio, because they've never had to do this. Likewise, were I to be doing any other animations at the moment, I might say that perhaps possibly we would now be doing stuff as well as 69, we'd be doing 4:3 version. We were very lucky with Whooverville. They didn't want a 4:3, now they want everything 4:3 and 16:9, because lots of people like to watch it in black and white in 4:3 like Doctor Who should be. Well, again, you talk to an animation studio. Our animation studio is based in Calcutta in India, and they've been doing this stuff for 40 years now. And you're suddenly saying to them, right, you've got to make everything what we call 4:3 safe. So you can have the characters doing things, but it has to happen within the 4:3 border, because the people watching in 4:3 can't afford to have a character who's over here talking, because they'll be cut out of it. And they're all kind of going, what's 4:3? And you're like, oh, of course, none of you have ever seen 4:3 television. You've been brought up. You suddenly go, I am really very old. So that's been an exciting thing as well, is working out how to do a 4:3, 16:9 and 4:3, because if you look at 1960s Doctor Who, there's your 4:3 screen, and the Doctor says, oh, look, Jamie, what should we do? And Jamie walks in from there, and that's easy. When you're doing 16:9, but you've also got to make it safe for 4:3, Jamie can't be standing here and just walk into shot. Jamie's actually got to walk into shot and walk all that way across before he can respond to the Doctor. So you have to mentally think, okay, you can't think like the directors in the 60s did, because they had that ease of instant movement. We've got people coming from left and right who can't speak until they get to the middle of the screen. So all of these things make it's an interesting experience doing these animations.
I was just thinking to myself, I mean, it's an interesting thing, the very fact that they decided to include 4:3.
I would suggest that a majority of people who buy the animations probably watch it the first time in black and white 4:3, and then go back and watch it in colour. No, somebody's shaking their head, good, because I'm on your side. Because I argued this for a long time, said we don't need 4:3, we don't need 4:3. But there are a lot of very dissenting voices out there who said, no, we want to watch it in black and white in 4:3, so you have to make both versions. And I was in a meeting a couple of years ago when this was being discussed, and we were halfway through Fury from the Deep, and I was going, we've made it in 16:9, don't tell us we have to do a 4:3 version. And Anne-Marie was doing the Faceless ones, and we were actually watching a bit of her team's work on the Faceless ones. And they'd only done episode 1 at that point, and they suddenly said, we need a 4:3 version. And so Anne-Marie was sitting thinking, right, we can go back and we can actually move that character over half an inch there. And I was thinking, oh, please don't ask us to do that with Fury from the Deep. We're on episode 6. And I can't go back. And so that was the agreement, we wouldn't do it on Fury, but everything we did going forward, we'd have to have a 4:3 version prepared. What's nice is it isn't just a case of going, here's the 16:9 and here's the 4:3. What we actually do is we make it in 16:9, and then we do, this is going back to our childhoods, we then do, well, you're childhood because you're really old and I'm not, we pan and scan sometimes. So we do the old pan and scan, so you've got a 16:9 thing, you're making a 4:3, but you actually do it by moving the camera across, so it stays within the 4:3. It's exciting playing with all these techniques, and it's exciting talking to a load of 20-something animators in India who have no idea what you're talking about, and saying, but it's 4:3 and it's exciting and you can do this, and it's going to be in black and white. You've got to make it look good in colour, but you've got to remember it's also going to be seen in black and white. And like, what? Black and what? Oh God, so old.